Hello, welcome to another edition of Chris Speaks. I'm your host, Christopher Thompson. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Well, welcome to the show. Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about. Okay, one of the things is I saw some footage. It was on X, and it was supposedly LAPD. It was somewhere where these people were trying to drive into the gas station, and they were pro-Palestinian protesters, and there was a bunch of pro-Israeli protesters that were in the way, and they're trying to get through, and the cops, instead of making those guys get out of the way, they arrest the person in the car. Also, for the first time, I mean, they're starting to report finally what the rabid pro-Israel crowd is like. Okay, so this was actually on Channel 7, ABC Channel 7 News in Los Angeles. I looked it up because, you know, I used to live in the area. Well, not LA exactly. Uh-oh, hold on. But anyways, so it was showing how they had news coverage of the pro-Israel people attacking the pro-Palestinian crowd and attacking protesters and stuff, and the cops just sat there and did nothing and just watched them, let them do. They didn't help them, but they let them do it. Is this what the country is coming to? So now they're finally reporting it. They're trying to call the people who are against the war in Gaza, many of which are Jews, and Jews for Peace, I believe they're called, is one of the organizers that have been organizing a lot of it. So how are they anti-Semitic if they're Jewish? So we got that going on. And it's just the news. The news just doesn't cover shit right. And it covers it, or it just lies, flat out lies about it, or you just don't see it. So they're doing this narrative that's the government is okay with. They're trying to do the same narrative that the government's saying is that the protests are anti-Semitic, but they're not talking about the horrific, violent, foul-mouthed pro-Israel crowd that are just disgusting, and they're violent, and they're trying to act like the violence is on the other side. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk to, and this shows how fucked up the news is. So finally I saw it on X, and then I looked it up, and it was on the news, where this white woman confronts this Palestinian woman because she was obviously speaking Arabic. And so she's like, why are you speaking that language, and where are you from? And I guess she figured out that she was Palestinian. I guess she didn't care. She was just didn't like Arabs. So she tries to grab her son, and then so the lady grabs her son back, and when she's doing that, the lady grabs her 3-year-old little girl, submerges her head in the pool. Yeah, this was at a pool, and tries to drown her. Okay, she gets arrested for this, but here's the thing, here's the kicker. This happened a month ago, and they're just now reporting it. They're just reporting it because CAIR, the Council for Arab, American Islamic Relations, American Islamic Relations, said, was trying to bring her up on hate crime charges, which she should be brought up on. But why was this not on the news? Because they're trying to do the narrative that there's all this anti-Semitism, and there is, but it's not in the protests, and it's not something new. It's been there the whole time. But they're ignoring the fact that there is total Islamophobia. It's just like way back in the beginning, like the right after October 7th, there was a guy who murdered a little Palestinian boy in, I don't know where it was, somewhere in the United States. Stabbed him 5 times, stabbed his mother, the mother survived, the child died. What the hell is wrong with you that you're so hateful of a certain group of people that you will murder their children? No wonder they're okay with Israel murdering Palestinians. They're okay with killing them themselves sometimes. I mean, this is like, what the hell? It's like, this is what our country's turning into, or has it always been this way? I just know that I don't remember the news being so complicit with the United States government and trying to push their narrative. And how about this? How about we have a government that has been aiding and abetting genocide in Palestine, and instead of saying, okay, we did this and it's wrong and we should stop doing it, they keep doing it, and instead they're trying to say, no, there's nothing wrong with it, we're doing the right thing. No, you're not doing the right thing. And I didn't know this because I know there's not a lot of news going out, and I know a big part of it is not just the news, because a lot of the independent news is starting to slow down what's been going on in Palestine, not because of the genocide slowing down, but because, one of the big things, besides not letting reporters in and out of Gaza, they've destroyed their internet completely, and they're pretty much saying they're never going to let them have internet again because because Hamas might use the internet. That's ridiculous. You know the real reason they're doing it? So they can't get social media recordings, live recordings of the stuff that Israel's doing getting out there, because because they're scared now. They're starting to get scared that they're seeing all these protests, and they're seeing how America's getting to the point where they're not going to put up with our government. We're not going to put up with our government arming like the biggest terrorists in the world, well, next to the United States military. But that's another story. But how they figure it is, it's not terrorism unless the other people do it. If we do it and our allies do it, it's not terrorism. But if you see the pictures, you see the craters, you see the rubble, and you see the dead bodies, the screaming children, the little boy laying down with his pillow and his blanket between his mom and dad's graves. This is ridiculous, and the American people, see, I knew there's been protests, but I didn't think it was a majority of the American people. But I was watching something on, it's called the Real News, and it was with Chris Hedges, and they're basically saying that the public is waking up and they're starting to be against what's going on. So I'm getting tired of how the news, like the mainstream news, is basically lying to people and omitting information and not giving us an idea of what's really going on. And like, how come there's probably been way more of an uptick on Islamophobia in the United States than there is anti-Semitism. And so this is the thing. They're going on and on about anti-Semitism, but they're going on and on about anti-Semitism that doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is, yes, anti-Semitism exists, and the anti-Semites are being more vocal, but it's not at the protests. And protesting the display for the October 7th is not being anti-Semitic. It's being against the memory of those people that died on that day, being used as propaganda to justify a horrific genocide that's going on in our country. I mean, the damn UN's even saying it now. There's people that are, like, European countries that are no longer supporting Israel. It's not because, like, Netanyahu goes crying, oh, everybody's turning against us. Maybe it's because you drop bombs on toddlers. So there's things going on in our country, and this is the thing. The people that stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people is not because they hate Jews. It's because they love people and they hate injustice, and they hate innocent people being killed, murdered by Israel, that this is a country that is posting on their, I hate calling it X, I wish it was still Twitter, but they're posting on their official X site of how there's no such thing as innocent Palestinians and they're all terrorists. And they're telling us we've seen the healthy hostages that were recovered by Israel that did not go hungry. They said they were fine. They had many of them say that they were treated well, but then in a couple of days to a week later that narrative changed, not from the people themselves but by other people in the Israeli government and some doctor they came up with. But then you see people that had finally gotten out of Israeli prisons from Israel, their concentration camps where they take people who haven't done anything wrong, because a lot of times because they want to steal their land. While they're in prison they take their land. Okay, they bulldoze over their houses and build settlement houses. They're putting these people in prison for no reason, and they're starving them. I don't remember his name, but there's a guy who's been speaking out. Well, I don't think he's been speaking out. His family's been speaking out, and this guy came out. He's crazy and stuff. And there was another. He came out like all mentally messed up. And there's another guy. I've seen a picture of another guy. There's pictures of these people from these Israeli prisons where they're holding them for no reason, where they've been torturing them, and they're coming out emaciated, looking a lot like images that came out of the Holocaust during World War II. But we're not allowed to say it, because if you make any comparisons, then it's anti-Semitic. But if they're acting like Nazis, then we got to call out them for acting like Nazis and stop fucking using this term anti-Semitism for what it's not. Actually criticizing Israel and seeing parallels between the Holocaust and the Holocaust that the Israelis have made for the Palestinian people is not anti-Semitic. It's the truth, and it's what's going on. They need to show more on the 10 o'clock news or whatever it is, and the mainstream news. Show more of the Jewish people, especially the Hasidic Jewish people, that people can look at and know, hey, they're Jewish, they're the Hasidic Jews with the braids and the hats and stuff. Those are real Jews. I mean, I don't want to say not. What I mean is that they're Jews, and people why don't they show the pro-Israel crowd telling them that they're not real Jews, or that they're self-haters, that they're anti-Semites. Well, they're just doing them to saying they're against genocide and what Israel's doing, because it goes against Jewish law. They're being assaulted and all that. Show the people who are Holocaust survivors, or people like Norman Finkelstein, whose parents were Holocaust survivors, saying that especially the people that were in the Holocaust, saying that it's starting to look exactly like what they went through, that they're starting to see parallels in what they went through. So it's not anti-Semites coming up with it. These are Holocaust survivors saying this. What's happening to our country, what's happening to our news, the government control over everything is getting freaking kind of scary. Oh, I got another thing to talk about. So they're trying to, in some states, they're trying to create these laws that to try to regulate what teenagers, underage people can or can't see on social media, under the guise of protecting them because they think that's causing mental illness. Well, the children and teenagers have always had problems with mental illness, and even though the experts have said that there's not enough evidence to say that it's causing them any problems. Well, you know what the real thing they're trying to do is? They're trying to start with that and trying to see how they can regulate it. Why do they want to regulate it? So they can regulate the information that's coming through this social media, because they don't want the teenagers knowing about what's going on in Israel, because they're trying to fucking destroy this rebellion. They're trying to make sure they don't go to college and start protesting. But the cat's out of the bag, and America's protesting, and we're not gonna stop until till our country no longer sends bombs to drop on toddlers. It's just crazy. And do you know that there's people losing their jobs, being fired from college positions, government and stuff, because they dare to say the truth. They dare to speak out against Israel, and they're blacklisted. They lose their jobs. Oh my God, Norman Finkelstein, that man has been had so many problems, so many jobs taken away from him because of what pro-Israel people think about him, and like different parts of, like, this is crazy. You can't speak the truth or you get ostracized. I mean, that's insane. But it's funny how when the neo-Nazis literally are saying horrible things about Jews, like Jews will not replace them, nobody says shit, nobody cares about them. But if people who actually know what's going on are criticizing Israel, which to claim that Israel represents all Jews, that's anti-Semitic. That's totally anti-Semitic, and it's not true. There's a shitload of Jews, especially in America, that are completely against what's going on in Palestine. This is ridiculous. It is a genocide. The fucking international court says it. The United Nations says it. The Geneva Conventions and other international laws say so. And the United States is guilty of war crimes because they are supplying them with the weapons. And that's why they're trying to shut down the conversation, because the United States will end up being pressured into not sending weapons to Israel to drop on innocent Palestinian people. And okay, here's probably the last thing I'm going to get on, is that Israel's announced how, of course, we know that they're nowhere near close destroying Hamas, so why are they winding down the war in Rafah, and suddenly they're past the hard part of the war or whatever? So they weren't even going after Hamas. Duh! They were going after the civilians. Well, they said they're ending that war so they can start going to war against Lebanon. Not just Hezbollah, Lebanon. Like, and crappy, what are they called? Oh, there's that newspaper. They're basically a tabloid in England, and they're ran by Rupert Murdoch, the same guy who owns Fox News. I think it's called, I can't remember it. But anyways, they're getting sued by the government of Lebanon, because they claimed that they were storing weapons and missiles and stuff in their airport. That sounds a lot like the weapons of mass destruction that were never found in Iraq. It's another attempt to go, because Israel wants to take over Lebanon. They want to take over Lebanon. They want to take over take over Lebanon, take over Jordan. They want to take over what's the other one? Anyways, they're trying to basically take over that whole chunk of land in the Middle East, like the little patch on their military thing shows, that Israel's promised land is the whole damn Middle East. And I kind of went off my subject. But anyways, they're going to the point where they're trying to accuse them, like the government, of doing stuff so they can say, so now we can drop all the bombs on more innocent people in Lebanon. But if they really go to war against Lebanon, they're not just going to have to deal with freaking Hezbollah. They're going to have to deal with the actual military of Lebanon, and they're going to get their asses handed to them. Well, maybe, but we don't need that. I don't want people. This is the thing. I'm not like the pro-Israel crowd. I care if Israeli people, citizens, innocent civilians are killed. I don't care whether they agree with the government or not. A lot of Americans agree with the government. That doesn't mean we should all be murdered. This is the thing. So I don't want innocent people in Lebanon or Israel or the Gaza Strip or anywhere to die. It's unnecessary. And how about you just give the Palestinians rights? You give them their own country, you give them the right to self-determination, and you leave them the fuck alone. You give them control over their own water and their own electricity, and guess what? Hamas will freaking disappear eventually. They'll stop. They'll stop doing it because there's no reason to. The whole reason that's happening, and the whole reason Hezbollah is attacking Israel now, which is on behalf of the Palestinian people, is because what they're doing in Gaza, what they're doing to these people that have been just done so wrong in history. First it was the Ottomans taking away their freedoms. Then it was the British who didn't give them self-determination, who lied to get them to fight the Turks for them, to get them to fight the Ottoman Empire out, got them out, and then, we changed our mind. We weren't really going to give you your own countries and let you govern yourself. And then, so the British come in, and then they put an invitation to Jewish people to all come to Palestine and give them self-determination, give them all these rights that they've denied to the Palestinians. And all the things that Israel's doing to Palestine, is the British did the same thing, just on a smaller scale. So they're just continuing the Western colonialism and continuing to suppress rights of these people. And this is what I fucking hate about our government, and I hate about the media, and I hate about how they're framing it. You cannot give one person, one set of people, group of people rights, and not give them to another group of people. That's discrimination. That's the true hatred. That's what the problem is. Okay, I'm running a little long. Well, not really long, but long for me, because these videos take forever to upload. I don't have like super internet like these big companies have. So I'm going to leave it at that. So this has been another episode of Chris Speaks. And remember, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I kind of sound like Nixon doing it that way. I'll try to do it a different way later on. Alright. So fight the good, keep up the good fight, keep on, and I mean that in a purely metaphorical way. No violence. Please don't do any violence. Let's do peaceful protests, and let's shake up this freaking country and let them know that, like I just said, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. Thank you. Goodbye.